Hi, welcome to WarHQ. My name is Lucius. Today I'm joined by Lachlan. How you going, brother?
Hey, going
Uh,
well.
so what we've just been through, on the 7th of November, we had WarHQ's first ever tournament, which was called Incursion. Now, it was a 4-round tournament. We're using more of the international rules with the whole kill sort of format, which is more favoured over there. We also went to 125 points, which we haven't really played in Australia, to my knowledge. Anyway, I've been in most of the tournaments in our area. Haven't been managed to get down to Lake Canberra to CanCon or anything. I know they play Arena down there, but so I don't know how their formats are. But probably 100 points I'm gathering with Arena because that's what it was designed for. But we held this tournament, and Lachlan here was the gold medalist for our tournament, our very first tournament, which was pretty cool. We had some cool prizes. What did you buy with that prize money? Did you get something cool, brother?
I actually picked up a box of Exalted Sorcerers for my Thousand Suns 40k army.
Cool. So just to let everyone know, what army were you playing? What did you win with?
I was playing Tao.
Yeah, baby. The Blue Smurfs. Yeah, awesome.
Love those fish.
Yeah. I don't know, what are they, like goat, fishmen, Smurf, cross something else, intergalactic communists? I don't know what they are. There's something. I don't know what they are.
There's something good.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah, cool. So, I suppose to start things off with, what got you into playing the Tao or Warhammer products in general? Like, where did you start? What's your journey with gaming, I guess?
Well, I've got a few friends that I play D&D with, and every time I go there, like he's got huge collection of like a Chaos army. And so every time I walk in, I just see all of these beautifully painted 40k models. And it took me a while of saying like, no, I won't get into it. Eventually caved and started. I started with Tyranids first. I got sick of painting a giant horde, and I love giant robots. I've got a huge Gunpla collection. So I've dabbled in Tao and haven't looked back.
Yeah, it does have that manga kind of aesthetic, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I know a few people like it for that reason. I guess good marketing by Games Workshop there. capture the manga crowd. Yeah. So with Tao itself, how did you find Tao at the tournament, and what sort of opponents did you sort of face? There was a 4-round tournament, as you know, for those people. But what were the teams that you played, if you remember?
So the matchups that I had, like round 1, I went up against a fellow Tau player. Rounds 2 and 3, I went up against Death Guard, and the final round was against Necrons.
Yeah, cool. So tell me, which did you find the most challenging out of those teams?
Well, I lost to the Necron, so I'd be lying if I said that was if that wasn't the hardest matchup. But the Tau match was very close.
The mirror match, yeah. I did notice that one because that was Phoenix, my nephew.
Yes.
You were playing in that match, yeah. It was a bit of a different list that you guys had, and that's what we're going to go through today with this particular interview. I just want to talk to you about Tau. Tau are very popular as well, like all my Tau videos are the most popular videos, so we may as well keep talking Tau because people like talking about it. So I remember Phoenix didn't have such a heavy. Your list is more based around drones, right? It was more of a drone spam kind of list, like your cookie cutter kind of one. His was more.
Well, when I was talking to him after our game, he did say that he would have preferred to have had more gun drones himself. He just didn't have the models on hand.
Yeah, he did actually borrow a few of mine.
He made the best. He made the best with what he had, but.
Yeah, the real variance in your guys' lists, I remember he had a full team of stealth, where you had a full team of crisis suits. You had more drones, he had a few more fire warriors, plus he also had the smart missile system. Did you have that on your list as well?
Turret.
Yeah.
No, I didn't have any of the turrets.
Yeah. No, that's cool. And he didn't manage to headshot your leader with his turret?
No.
No.
He got close a few times, but I always sort of kept a couple of drones near the leader just in case.
Yeah.
Because I knew that was a possibility.
Yeah, I don't think I've played Tau vs Tau, so yeah, that would be a weird experience. Did did you find, like, in my mind, when I think about it strategically, I think your list was stronger in that instance, because
Yes.
drones, volume of fire against low toughness, low safe targets. I think drones are pretty much going to win that one every time, and movement, obviously, because he's going to have fire warriors and a few pathfinders. Just with normal guns, drones are going to eat them up. In my mind, that's how it should work. Doesn't always work that way on the board.
No, that's
but yeah,
pretty much exactly how it played out.
Yeah, I think the drones would have been the decisive factor in that one. With the Death Guard players that you played two. Yeah, you played both of them.
Yes.
They were ranked second and fourth, by the way, for all those people out there. Death Guard did come second and fourth in the tournament, so you did play a selection of the best players there as well, and the other Tau player came third. So you pretty much played the top three, and then the Necrons weren't a top three, but they were the wild card.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
a tricky bunch.
Yeah. With the Death Guard teams, I've played a lot of Death Guard tournament as well. How did you find them? What was your experience with a Tau matchup like that? What did you find your advantages, your disadvantages were?
I definitely think that Tau is a very strong matchup against Death Guard. Just the rail rifles being able to take out the light launchers.
Yeah.
Doing that so efficiently, and the drones just melt through the pox walkers. Just the second chance to kill one, even if they do make their disgustingly resilient, it's just too powerful.
Yeah, I agree. It's with the movement of the drones, what I've always found is terrain, anything that poxwalkers are hiding behind, they're that slow that you can pretty much just go over it behind them, shoot them in the back. They've got no guns. You know what I mean? So like you can just pretty much massacre them on cue. 4 shots, usually
if you
hitting.
just keep that sort of distance, like the 4 shots, even in Overwatch, you're quite likely to kill a poxwalker.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. Well, that's
like I always sort of try and give myself stuff, and I'm always hitting on. I aim to always be hitting on 3s when I'm shooting at them. Like I'll have my comms buff my demo for the scanner.
Yep.
And then I'll use my command point that I generate each turn on the sniper.
Sniper ability.
Sniper stratagem. Yeah, to just give me that extra +1.
And then the recon as well. Yeah.
If
you want to be a real prick.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
I use the recon on the sniper. Give the sniper the +1, the demo gets the +1, and then he has that extra chance to wound just because they're obscured.
Yep, it's just the ultimate combo, isn't it? And
it's just consistent.
Yeah, and I really find with the Tau, I think the 3 railguns, they're not the best gun in the game, but they're the most consistent for the points value. Like for 12 points, and you can have 3 of them for 36 points. It's pretty much better than anyone can pull out.
Death Guard.
Yeah.
Especially against Death Guard 2, having that D3 damage, so that they have to take more than 1 disgustingly resilient.
Yeah.
All they need to do is fail 1 and you win. Pretty much.
And I found that, Death Guard Plague Marines are sort of the hardest things to kill generally, with all their buffs and that, but the railgun can pretty much mince them. It's just they've got that 5-6. That's their chance of survival, basically. So and with multiple wound weapon, they've got to roll that every time too. So with each damage point, so that makes it harder for them as well. So I've never really struggled too much in that aspect. It's sort of same with say something like Tyranids, where you've got you've got all your gaunt spam, but then you've got your warrior nids that are bigger
that actually have those extra wounds.
Yeah, I found I played some in the tournament when I was playing Tau, and I remember it was really just a matter of, I think by turn 2 there was no warrior nids left on the field. It was pretty much those railguns can really do some damage. I think that is what makes Tau though, isn't it? It's really you've got
it is
3 amazing long range shooting options, and you have everything else that's just amazing movement, and multiple, just volume of fire. With strength 5 fire is another thing we should add in there too, because the strength 5 really puts it in a league of its own, because you can even, you're even 3 up wounding Space Marines and stuff like
Just
that.
on Marines, yeah.
Yeah, so like even a bolter. I don't know why. I still haven't worked out why the Imperium of Man haven't just like thrown their bolters away and just grabbed all the pulse
Yeah.
stuff from the Tau, because they're stronger weapons and they're better in general.
They are.
Better,
The Marines probably look at the flimsy little guns, go, no, we can't hold that.
It'd be heresy, obviously. But
Yeah.
but yeah,
Don't tell the Inquisition.
I'm not much of a Marine player, so yeah, or
Well,
an Imperial player.
I almost brought Death Watch
Oh yeah,
to the tournament.
they're pretty strong at the moment. Like, there's a lot of people
They are.
using those internationally and having some good results. Yeah, so with your list itself, do you want to go through what you sort of brought with that?
Yeah, well, the main 15 models in my roster were just the cookie cutter drone spam. I believe I had 10 gun drones, the 3 rail rifle pathfinders, just a pathfinder leader, and the recon drone. That was sort of the list. That was the list that I brought in the first 3 games.
Yep.
And then the extra 5 slots. I really love Crisis suits.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring something a little cheesy with them. So I had 2. The sept that I used for the main 15 were Sasaya. So I've got the rerolls of 1s.
Oh, yeah, always a good one, and +1 leadership as well.
Yeah, that's always helpful.
Yeah.
And then the other list that I brought was Borkan
For your Crisis team.
So that for the Crisis team, so that their all of their weapons ignored the penalty for shooting at long range.
Yep, good plan.
So I didn't bring any of the Pathfinders in that one or anything with rapid fire. So all of the guns were assault. I could shoot at max range and just sort of try and cheese out wins, because in Kill Team, if you see a Crisis suit on the other side of the board, you're just like, I want to leave that alone.
Yeah.
Because if it comes near me, it's going to destroy me.
Yeah, that's it.
It's just that now. So that intimidation just sort of helps.
Now, you actually use the Crisis suit list. Like the first 3 games, you used your normal list with the drone spam. And then the last game, you gave it a go, and I've never been bold enough in competition to use a full Crisis suit list. So tell us about your experience with that one, because you were playing Necrons, and it was a very heavy Flayed One list, wasn't it? It was Flayed Ones and Lich Guard. I'm pretty sure is what it was, which is nasty.
I think I took out a couple of the Flayed Ones. But yeah, once the Lich Guard got in combat with me, they just sort of tore me to pieces.
Yeah.
I was very greedy. Like on both of my Crisis suits, I had them with cyclic ion blasters.
Nice.
And I was overcharging them so that I could get sort of that more damage to try and take out the Lich Guard. And unfortunately, there were a couple of 1s rolled, and those mortal wounds just, they hurt.
Yeah. Not just that, you're reanimating them all the time, which is ouch. Yeah. That's that is. I think, I think I've said this before in previous things about Tau, but Necron, I think, are probably one of the better teams to take against Tau. I think they're pretty well matched up against Tau. Because the things that they've got decent armor, so your drones aren't as successful against them generally, and you still got that reanimation. And then against your heavy weapons, which are D3 damage, they've still got that reanimation. So you do 3 damage, and the chances of rolling a 6 on 3 dice is generally pretty high. It's not that low.
Good against every other army.
Yeah. Do you think that's a I've had this in my list before, but I never come up against Necrons in a tournament, unfortunately. But the ion guns, that's a potential use for them. I thought, against Necrons, instead of taking the rails, you could take ions if you had them in your list. Probably the only time I'd probably consider that. But
I had thought about it, but I don't actually have the ion. The ion blasters modeled on any Pathfinders. So
exactly,
I just
it's kind of like, why bother? A lot of the time, it's kind of like a poor man's plasma. Really, it's not quite as good as plasma, but I think it's still only got -1 AP when you overcharge it, which is it's not good, not that good really, not as good as plasma.
Yeah.
But
No, I mean, aside from the rail rifles, I don't think any of the Tau weapons have a particularly high AP.
Yeah.
But I think that's because the advanced targeting system still exists in the game.
Yep. Yeah. No, that's it. That's what makes the rail so good, I guess, and the rest of it.
Yeah.
But Necrons, it is kind of the Achilles heel of the Tau, I think. Particularly the way he was using him, I saw that because you had the long range idea in mind, you were going to just try and kill him off the board, right?
Yeah.
He kept advancing, didn't he? He kept advancing,
He did.
holding the points with multiple dudes, and won that way, didn't he? Through points mainly.
And the mission that we played, we had like the 3 objectives in the middle.
There. It's a bad matchup.
So obviously, it was just sort of for me to try and jump in. I had to get where he wanted me, and I couldn't exactly keep my distance.
So he pretty much just sort of shield walled it with his heavy dudes and just came forward and held it on you, and then charged his Lich Guard at you and got you off the board.
Exactly.
Pretty much.
There's no like one of the things that I really enjoyed about this tournament that you hosted was the way that you used the secondaries.
Oh yeah.
Like being able to only take being able to only take the secondary once in the whole tournament.
Yeah.
Made it a lot trickier to try and plan out what I wanted to do in advance without knowing who I'd be playing against.
Yeah, because by that game 4, you're really down to the dregs, aren't you? Unless you've pre-planned before the tournament, which I don't know, you probably did.
No, I did.
You did, yeah. I would have too, because I'm a bit like that.
So I wanted to plan out. I didn't want to be in a situation where I couldn't score any of my secondaries in a given mission.
Yeah.
So I pre-selected for each mission objectives or secondaries that I could score. And left some of the ones like the cut them down. I used that in the first game just to get it out of the way because I don't think I'd ever score that in any of the games.
No.
I think I almost declared a charge in the Tau Mirror.
Yeah. No, that's it. But it sort of balances out because you've got your close combat teams that were there, and then they're never going to be able to score like the long range ones for shooting. You know what I mean? Like death from afar or something. They're never going to score. So it sort of balanced out, I thought, in that aspect. It wasn't really weighted against. It's not.
No.
Yeah, it's just an idea, just a test. I kind of like knowing what I want to use, before I go there as well. But having that limitation of only being able to use each one once, that is tough. It's just an added challenge that we put in there just to see how people went with it. No one complained, so hopefully it went okay. Yeah. But so anything else to say on the games themselves you played? Did you were you any other hidden challenges? Different boards, different sort of setup. We were sort of limited when we got there by the shops, what terrain the shop had. But tried to make it more skirmishy, but I thought it was okay. Some people wanted more terrain, a bit more line of sight, but it's as I pointed out to a few people, when you fight Tau, it doesn't matter about that stuff anyway, because everything can fly, so you just go over the top of it anyway, so terrain doesn't really matter that much. With Tau.
If the more terrain there is, the easier it is for me to sit my drones on top of something and make
exactly,
it really hard
make them come up at
you.
you, like have to climb up terrain features. That's how I use them as well. It's my thoughts as well. So with your list itself, how when you think about the drone spam, I did see you use it a couple of times as it's coming around. I saw you use it very effectively on a more open board. It's more of that jungle Eldar jungle board or whatever that is, which was a really bad matchup for the poor Death Guard player, which was Chris. I know Chris. He was playing you at the time, and you just had that full drone spam, and just him trying to come at that and penetrate that was oof.
He had a lot of pox walkers, and I just sort of like just the way that the board was laid out, I was able to on the first turn park all of my rail finders like right on the edge of the deployment line.
Yep.
And they were within half range of every objective on the board.
Yeah, that was rough. I saw
So
that
I was
one.
able to just sort of, yeah.
And they were
Once I had
randomly
found
randomly
sort of,
generated boards too. We had about
yes,
8 of them or something. We were just randomly generating them. So yeah, that was just a bad draw on his account, but he gave it a go. I mean, it's hard when you got plate cleavers and stuff trying to get in on Tau
yeah.
in the first place. Like, greater good is the real thing. For those that don't know what the greater good is, did you want to, like, some people may not know. Do you want to go over that, because that's a pretty big tactic
Yes,
in that sort of
it's a very
situation?
big tactic.
Yeah.
When they declare a charge against one of my models, and everyone within 6 inches can also shoot Overwatch as
Yeah.
if they were also targeted, and
It's dirty.
the
So
amount
when
of
it comes
times
off, it's just like,
like having, because I tried to always, whenever I had my drones, just because I knew that he would be charging if he got the chance to, I'd always sort of layer them so that if you did get into the first one, you wouldn't be able to just consolidate into the next drones, or get straight into like the rail finders if you got all the way in the back line. And every time he had to make a charge, he had like 4 gun drones shooting at him.
yeah.
And then if he got close enough that the rail finders could take a shot as well.
Yep. 4 gun drones is 16 shots, needing a 6.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
With that amount of fire, it just happens eventually.
Yeah.
Just like orcs.
Yeah. Orcs, you just got to believe. I love orcs. It's one of my main teams.
Yep.
So I love them. But yeah, you just got to believe. Like the orc hive mind, you just believe and it works eventually.
Yeah.
Like painting yourself blue, like,
yep.
It's protective.
Yeah. Colors make a difference.
Apparently, yeah. Apparently, if you're an orc. Yeah, cool. So with your with the tactics that you use on the board, obviously, are you using more like, I know when I use Tower, I always try and visualize it as kind of like a web. And I try and think of an interrelated web of where everything's within its ranges. It's a bit of a tactical team to use, isn't it? Because you've really got to think about your ranges and where you're moving and how that relates to your other models in your team and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, you definitely need to know where everyone else is and make sure everyone's working as like a single like unit. Like you said, a sort of a web. I like to think of interlocking gears.
Yep.
If one cog's out of place, the machine doesn't work.
Yeah, particularly with the railguns, right? Like they're really essential. Like you need your backup drone that can take the wound. You know what I mean? When someone shoots you at long range with a heavy weapon, like a blight launcher or something, you need some drone to take the heat for you. You know what I mean? Yeah. You need your recon drone, you need your comm specialist, you need everything in place. It's kind of like mini teams within teams. Sometimes I find, particularly when you use the smart missile turret, it's got support crew as well. You know what I mean? Like you really need your fire warriors next to it. You need a bit of protection with another drone if you want to do it that way as well. So it's the same thing. Whenever I use that list, it's like I've got 3 teams. You know what I mean? Like 2 little teams that sort of stick together at the back, and then everything else coming forward in range of each other, trying to web each other in their own ranges. You find it that way. Obviously, gears are more.
Yeah,
I get what you mean. It's the same kind of idea.
Yeah.
But yeah. I always just thinking of throwing out like a web or a net on someone, like with all drones over them and just around them everywhere. Just messing up their day.
If the shots come from everywhere, you can't dodge them.
Yeah. And predictions, say they make a kill team 2. Do you think they'll put up the price of drones?
Well, I hope so.
You hope so, even though you play them?
I play them like, honestly, at the tournament I played in, like most of my friendly games, I do play my Death Watch list because the like just how effective drone spam is. Like, yeah, it gives me wins, but I just feel so bad beating people dirty. Like that. Yeah.
Well,
I need to wash my hands.
It's kind of like, I think people need to learn how to play against it too. It does have hard counters. Like Tau isn't. I mean, they're completely hopeless in close combat for a start. If you can, I find anything with, true. I think teams like AdMech is another good one against Tower. I think like really good shooting, solid stuff you can use with those fast guys. With those infiltrators stuff, you can do quite a bit with like teams like AdMech. Anything you can drop in, like we can drop in Tyranids can be used effectively against them as long as you can get off. There was one game I played. at a time at a tournament, and the Tyranid player had I think it was a warrior Nid, and it was a veteran warrior Nid, and he had Kraken sub-faction, so he was literally in my back line beginning in turn one, then one initiative, so then he was going first. It was like, oh dear. Like, it was literally my whole railgun nest was right there. Like, this could end badly. Turn one, I could lose them all. But greater good prevailed. I did well. But it was a bit of a nail biter there. If it would have went the other way, like he could have tied up all my rails and everything and probably murdered most of them, and while he moved everything forward. So the movement, I think, high movement teams can be fairly effective against that. I did play Harlequins once too. They didn't have the numbers and the volume of fire I find with the drones is enough to take out Harlequins, but if they can blind charge, if they can blind charge you, and then they have they have the mask form, which enables you to consolidate 6 inches. What one dude did is he managed to get to one of my drones, and then he consolidated into the next thing, and then consolidated into the next thing every time he killed one. It was actually quite an effective tactic when he could get it off. The only thing is, by that time, I'd won on points and secondaries. But it was a good tactic. It was actually working. But just the sheer numbers of the drones and that I had were enough to win on secondaries. Another hard matchup I think I've had was Grey Knights. I had a hard matchup with Grey Knights where I couldn't get my railguns in a good position, and they were just derping their rolls. And his psychic things were working. They were like every turn, both of them were coming off, both of them were killing. It was like, whew. And so by the end, I think the end of the game, I won the game by about 1 or 2 points, but I only had one model left, and I had to use spend a CP to keep him alive. To pass morale basically. Yeah. So that I could score that 1 point, and that's what won me the game. It was ridiculous. It's like, yeah. But you had any hard matchups like that?
I've had a few difficult games against one of the guys at my local group. He usually plays Eldar.
Yeah.
And so I've had a few rough matchups with I can't remember the type of Eldar unit, but like just
Pansy elf type.
Overwatch it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's the Howling Banshee Exarch.
Yeah.
That thing is that is just like Tau
scary.
Killer. It's Tau Killer 101. That I've played in the again in the Australian titles. I played 2 Azurani teams. The only loss I had was to Azurani, the guy that won, and then the other team did pretty well as well against me. The other Eldar player, I did manage to headshot with a smart missile system in turn 1, and I had cut off the head secondary, so I scored full 3 points. Turn 1, I was like, yes. Nice. And then it was just a back and forth from there. But Azurani, again, another good shooting team, fast. That's the kind of team you need against. Good shooting and fast is what you need against Tau, I think. And good terrain helps sometimes. Yes. But I do find that close combat teams can really suffer against them.
They just never have the time to get in melee range.
And the fact that you can fall back from combat, fall back from some people charging and shoot, that can get really frustrating. Still get frustrating with people as well. So I think in that aspect, it's kind of But I get what you mean. Well, every tournament I've done so far, I played a different team just to challenge myself. So I think I've done Drakari, I've had demons, Tau. Orcs, done a few, so I try and use different just to keep that. So you've done 2 tournaments, did you say?
Yes.
You're at another tournament that I was at, and you played.
I also played the Tau, but it was a less optimized list.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't quite have the amount of gun drones that I needed. I only had 4 at the time. I'd modeled everything else as shield drones and glued the bases in, so I couldn't.
Yep.
Sort of switch them around.
So you didn't have an optimal sort of meta list for it, as we were saying,
But and like in that tournament, like the 2 matches that I lost were against Grey Knights and Drakari.
Yeah.
So
that's it. Yeah, I find that if you don't have the full drone spam list, that's what's going to kill you. Anything like that, good shooting and and movement, it's going to be a hard day at the office. So I'm just sort of point out for those at home, because a lot of people still see Tao and Kill Team as that team. You know what I mean? Like it's sort of like
Yeah.
But you know, when you think of it, they don't win every tournament. You know what I mean? They don't win every tournament overseas
No.
or even here. So I mean, it's not always that team. But if you know how to use them well, and your opponent doesn't really know how to counter them well, then you are at quite an advantage just with your movement shenanigans and you know, just the troop options that you have.
I think that's one of the problems with Tau, from like how people view them.
Yeah.
They're a very reactive army. And so if you play a defensive, like reactionary game where you anticipate your opponent's moves and set your army up in a way to counter it before it happens, the experience that you have playing against it, it just makes you feel bad. And that's why everyone, like, I've heard more people complain about Tau than people praising and saying how fun they are to play.
I think I'd say like the least fun team I think is Grey Knights to me. Like getting 2 free kills every turn is just, it feels dirty. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I do like them. I do. It's probably one of the only Imperium teams that I actually like.
Thousand Suns can definitely do the same.
Yeah. But just the fact that they can all use Psychic, you know what I mean? So even if you, at least with Thousand Suns, you can target their Aspiring Sorcerer and the Terminator Sorcerer, and if you can kill them, then at least you can knock them down a little bit. But yeah, Grey Knights with everything using it, it's kind of like but you know, it's just is what it is, I guess. But I always thought that was a bit OP. But you know, again, Grey Knights don't win everything, so there's counters to everything. And you know, there are a lot of people out there that are like, Tau, you know, like I hate Tau, won't play against them and all that. But you know, it's just get better at playing them. I think it's a good opportunity if you are in that situation. Someone in your local scene has Tau, is to play against them as much as you can, so you can understand it better, and then really try and try and use different tactics and different sort of rosters to try and beat them. That's how I'd see it. But I do think it's probably, if they make a second edition, that I do think it'll probably get to the not nerf stage with drones, but I think they will maybe increase the points. I was very surprised in the annual that they didn't. That was very.
No, I was.
They didn't really change much in the annual, which was very strange. All they did was make orcs more expensive, which was ridiculous because like they're not exactly a tier 1 team anyway. You know what I mean? To make them worse was a bit oof. That hurt.
No, like, I think the drones should probably be like at least 10 points, 9, maybe 12.
I think you could bump the the recon could be 10, I reckon. I think it could be, because it is just so powerful. I'd nearly say it's probably the best model in the game, the recon, for what it can do. You know, 2 wounds. You know, it's got a burst cannon. It's got 4 shots. It's got 4 shots. It's got good toughness. It's got you get the bonus that it gives. You know, it's just insane. You know what I mean? Like it just makes it so powerful.
Ignoring cover. Yeah.
I mean, how else do you get that?
Ignoring cover for the guns that actually make a difference.
Yeah.
And then because it does have that extra wound, because the savior protocols reduces the damage to just 1 mortal wound, you're guaranteed for that to go off twice.
Yep.
And then potentially an extra 3 times if
if you can take the flesh wounds.
Very unlucky with flesh wounds.
Yeah, it's just such a good thing. Hey, the recon drone is Besides the gun drone, I think the recon drone is one of the best models in the game. For points, 7 points.
It'll only cost 7. Yeah.
I'm not saying you could get a 50-point model, which is going to be better, but what I'm saying is for the points on the scale, like pound for pound, it's definitely up there.
I was after the tournament, I was going over just sort of comparing the gun drone to just how many points other models cost in different lists, and the gun drone is cheaper than 1,000 Suns Zangor. It does so much more.
Yeah. Like a Zangor can get like a pistol. It's a 3-strength pistol with 1 shot. As a long, that's all of its long range potential, really. Otherwise, it's close combat. Yeah. So I get it. I mean, but then saying the Zangor's in close combat with a drone, it's going to wreck its day.
Yes.
Generally.
If they get in close combat, you're not in a good spot with a drone.
No, not at all. The Zangor, they have a invuln save, don't they? Is it a 5+?
Sorry, you were cutting out then.
They have an invuln save, don't they?
Yes,
Zangor,
5 up.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, there's one bonus. That's one good thing against, but still probably not enough against 4 shots. You never know.
No.
You got to catch the little buggers.
Well,
those
their armor save is 6.
yeah,
so they're always using their invul.
pretty much. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like demons. I'm a demon player too, so it's always invul. But I do love that about demons as well, because I noticed at the tournament I actually played them at. I don't think anyone had actually played against them, because it was.
No, I think that was when they were really new, wasn't it?
It only just come out in White Dwarf, and I was like, I've got all these demon models. Yeah, I'm bringing them out. So yeah, and it worked really well, because a lot of people were bringing like high AP weapons and that against them, and I'm like, well, it doesn't mean anything, dude. Sorry, like yeah, you may have that -4 AP, but I've got an invuln save, so you know, bad luck. But yeah, don't fight Tao with demons. Volume of fires, and everything's close combat.
No.
But yeah, no, that's cool. Any other general notes on the Tao themselves, or thoughts you've had? We talked about a few things with your crisis suits. How do you actually what you had them loaded out with? Ion list, was it like?
Yeah, so one of them was my heavy. It had 2 cyclic ions and a flamer.
Sure. Oh yeah,
and
love the flamer on the crisis.
One,
yeah.
Yeah. And the other one just had the 1 cyclic ion blaster, a burst cannon, and a flamer.
Ah, okay, rightio.
Just to I wanted to always have like 1 flamer on them, because it is a model that I don't want people to get in combat with.
It gives you that little buffer against charges as well. Yeah, just gives you that little bit of protection against it, and auto hits. That's always good.
Yes,
you got a whole bunch
at least
of
having. Yeah, like having the 3 guns to shoot Overwatch with is good, especially when I can guarantee at least one of them is going to hit.
Yeah, and for that ion gun, do you want to go through that for anyone that doesn't really know what that's like?
So they're 18-inch range, assault 3, strength 7, neg 1, 1 damage, or if you overcharge it's strength 8, still neg 1 but D3 damage.
Yeah, and then I was going to say you didn't use Sassy except with them. You could reroll ones for overcharge.
No, not with them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the I probably should have switched them around a little bit. The one with 2 cyclic ion blasters, I made that my heavy.
Yep.
I should have had it as a sniper to counteract the chance for rolling the mortal wounds.
Yep.
Whereas the the other suit that I took, it was the sniper, but I looked at it and went, I've got this heavy stratagem that'll let me have an extra shot with all of my guns.
Yep.
I'm gonna take that because I want 8 cyclic ion blaster shots.
Yeah, for sure. And have you had any experience with stealth suits? Do you use them at all?
I've played them. I've used one once.
Mm-hmm.
I should probably change its loadout to the burst cannon, because I ran it just with the fusion blaster, and it's such a strong weapon. But the
one
fact
shot.
that it's only got that one shot.
Yeah.
It's like one shot hitting on a 4. I've found it's very unreliable.
Yeah, I generally, if I do that, I usually take another stealth suit as a comms specialist, just to give that bonus, and then have the recon drone like somewhere around there, or another drone just to soak up damage and just to keep them safe. But that's stealth are alright. Like they're not too bad for the points, especially with the movement and stuff you can do. You can do quite a cool bunch of cool stuff with them. Yeah, but I do like
it's 8-inch as well.
Yeah, I remember when the crisis suits, like when elites come out, I was very excited because I was like 3 flamers. So and just go mental. I was thinking about fighting hordes and like just dropping it in the back line and just like flame everything, and whatever's left standing at the end, even if you die, it doesn't matter as long as you go out screaming.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
As long as I can, torch everything.
Yeah, just burn everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is my scorched earth plan.
Yeah, and as far as obviously you don't use much in the way of normal pathfinders or fire warriors or breaches, heaven say. No one likes breaches, but you don't really get into that.
Well, in that first tournament that I went to, I did bring a bunch of fire warriors, but I just the amount of shots they put out are less than they've got less shots than a gun drone, and they cost more.
Yeah. That's always the payout, isn't it? It's like, if you look at the gun drone versus one of the Pathfinders, the Fire Warriors, you're always like, well,
yeah,
the gun drone's sort of better in every aspect. It moves, it doesn't have terrain, it's got 4 shots, or 2 lots of 2 is a better way to put it. I can shoot at 2 targets with each of them.
Yeah.
It's a hard one to pass up.
Like, the only sort of downside is that their standard shooting is hitting on 5s.
True.
If you're within half range and they're not obscured. So generally you're always hitting on 6s, but because you're always hitting on 6s, you can just be advancing them, doing whatever you want. And, it's not like I'm going to be hitting on worse than a 6.
Yeah, that's right. You just get used to it after a while, though. Like, you just counter that with having like 12 drones. You just say, well, 4 rolls each, but there's 12 of them. So, so you're gonna hit eventually, and that's what I always find is like they're gonna hit eventually. Like, you might roll 48 dice, but probably 10 of them are gonna hit. And then with the strength 5 weapon, that's pretty nasty. Like, against most things.
And like when the majority of models in the game only have 1 wound, all I need is 1 shot to go through. 1
failed save, and it's all on.
It's over.
It's over. That's right. I like it. Any other, so with Kill Team, have you, what other teams do you said you mentioned Deathwatch that you like there?
Yes, so I've got Deathwatch and Thousand Suns as like the other 2 teams that I sort of play.
Sure.
And I contemplated, like, my Thousand Suns aren't fully painted yet, so I was gonna hold off on. I didn't want to bring an unpainted army to a comp.
Yep.
And Deathwatch, I've had a lot of fun with, but like, one of the other guys in my group that we play with, he was saying, oh no, don't bring Deathwatch, bring Tao. They're going to be the stronger choice. And like, I didn't want to make people feel bad playing against me, but I did anyway. So.
Yeah, stuff their feelings. Just purge all things.
Join the greater good.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, join or die. So, that's interesting. And so, and you mentioned before that you also play 40k as well, don't you? That's how you got into, like, sort of the gaming sort of thing, like with Games Workshop stuff. Yeah, cool. And you're currently doing a Thousand Suns army with 40k. So
I've just finished buying all of the models, and now I'm painting through everything.
Yeah.
And I every time I start to paint, I look at just the horde of rubric marines, and I die a little inside.
Yeah, well, at least not doing orcs or something. That's Squillian troops. Yeah, I've seen like orc 40k armies with like 200-300 bloody boys or something. It's just like, whoa. It's hectic. I mean, at least it's orc, orc contrast. But yeah, the rubric marines, it's with all those little intricate armor edges that you've got to do in the I know.
Even just the banding on their headpieces, it's stressful.
Yeah. No, that's cool. So would you, with those other kill teams you have, would you ever you think you'd probably use Deathwatch if you're going to use the other two? If you're going to do a tournament with a different team at any stage, you'd probably use the Deathwatch. Yeah. And I'd
probably use Deathwatch.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about the Deathwatch. I've actually never fought against them in a tournament. No one I play with plays them. So what do the standout features for you with those?
Well, the frag cannons are definitely
I've heard those are
the key thing.
Pretty gnarly, add more frag cannons.
Having the 2 profiles where, like, all right, if you charge me, I've got a 12-inch 2d6 flamer. Or shooting at long range, I've got a 2-shot strength 9 neg 4 if they're within half range.
Yeah, that's brutal.
And it's not a D3 damage, but it's a nice consistent 2.
Two's, I don't mind 2. Two's pretty good for damage in kill team. It's a good, nice number,
It's nice and round.
Yeah, that's right. There's not a lot of things, like most bigger things generally have the 2 wounds. Like you've got a champion model or something, it's got like 2 wounds generally. unless you're fighting nids or something, warriors with 3 or something.
It's
But
only like the
yeah,
really, really big things that
yeah,
have 3. And
exactly. And you
all I
just
need
just
is
shoot them
2 shots
twice.
to go
Yeah,
through.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Take it twice. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's cool. So with Kill Team itself, though, we don't know what's going on in the future with Kill Team. Obviously, it's been a bit quiet this
No.
year, hasn't it? Like as far as releases go. Do you have any like mystical predictions of what you think Games Workshop might do? Was it they just going to bring out another box set of Starter, or do you think there might be a second edition, or you think they're going
I
to
think
integrate it with the ninth edition Warhammer? Sort of got the with a new system there with the smaller teams you can take. How do you think it's going? Like,
Yeah, that's sort of what I think it might be. I think it might play out integrating a little bit more into Ninth Edition. Because like I've got a few friends who play 40k, and I keep nagging them. It's like, come on, play a game of Kill Team with me. You've got Azurani, you've
yeah,
got like the right models to make a really good kill team, but like the injury rolls puts them off from sort of
yeah.
wanting to play.
So
It's
why
like
don't you're not
I
dead?
don't I
No.
don't need to make a 40k game more complicated.
Yeah, people can't understand when you do like 4 lots of 1 damage to someone, then you only get 1 damage dice, like 1 injury dice. It,
Yeah,
it sort of does 40k players' heads in. They're like, what? But I just did 4 damage to you. And you're like, no, you didn't. You did one.
no, you didn't. One,
And I'm gonna do, you get 1 injury roll. Yeah, it's
and
yeah,
I'm gonna yeah, and you're gonna roll a 1 to on that injury roll, and I'm just gonna be perfectly fine.
exactly. Yeah, it's hard to get your head around, I guess, if you come from that. But yeah. Um, and any other general notes on Tau or Kill Team in general, or anything?
Um, Not really. I just hope that sort of this global climate changes a little bit soon, so we can have more competitions.
Yeah, I mean, we're a bit limited with the one that we ran, but it was a bit smaller, I think, because of that as well, and we had to change dates
Yeah.
because the borders locked and everything between Queensland and New South Wales. That was a bit difficult, having to uproot it and do it again. But I
Yeah.
think we'll probably do one.
You
We're going to do it seasonally, like that
okay?
was the spring, so I guess we need one for summer. So
Yeah. Well,
we're thinking of doing one perhaps in January, I guess. So it did generate a little bit of interest, and I think there's a couple of other people in around Brisbane that want to come. Other clubs that play it. We've talked to a few others. So we'll see. We'll see. It's not about how many people there, but the quantity, the quality of the people there. I always say.
yeah.
But I think overall the tournament went pretty well, pretty smooth. People were actually most of the games were
I
a little bit ahead of time. Like everyone was sort of on the mark
yeah.
with like getting their turns out, getting their things together, and switching tables and setting up. Everyone was actually pretty veteran in that respect. I think even though we had some new players and some young players there, I think it sort of all worked out pretty good.
No,
Um,
the younger players definitely surprised me with how
yeah,
quickly they were doing everything. I was like when I sat down in it against Phoenix for that first round, I was just like, oh no, I don't want to beat a little kid.
you're just like beating a
And
puppy.
he then he got his first turn and killed 2 of my drones. I'm like, all right, I need to
Yeah, game on.
not go easy. Yeah, all
Yeah,
right.
yeah. No, he's a brute. Yeah, both of them are. I've been training them over the last year or so, so they're getting pretty good. Getting pretty good. Like,
But no, I watched some of Tama's Orc games, and I was really hoping that I'd be able to have a match up against him in the tournament, but maybe next time.
yeah, yeah. Next time for sure. Um, yeah, I'd say they're probably changing teams around a little too by then, so it'd be interesting what they take. Time will probably have Thousand Suns or something. Orcs are good. Like I love them as a team. I love them as a faction for anything. But yeah, the nerf did actually hurt them a little bit. You're down like 1 or 2 orcs now because of the nerf from manual. Just that 1 point extra on
Oh, that
on your
point
main
increase,
troop type.
yeah.
Yeah, it just really killed them. Like didn't kill them. They're still
Makes a
competitive.
difference.
It does make a difference though. It's like say they made drones. They made your drones 8 points. If you'd lose 2 in a in a 125 point list, wouldn't you? You'd probably lose 2. So it would make your team slightly less competitive.
No, that was like in full 40k, the shield drones used to cost 10 points,
Right.
and with the change to ninth, they got upgraded to 15 points.
Yeah.
And just that, it doesn't look like much on paper. Like it was only 5 points extra, but it makes a huge difference in the actual game because for every shield drone you take now, you're losing half of another one.
Sure. No, that's it.
And yeah, no.
Cool. So, well, yeah. Thanks for taking the time to come and talk to us today at the channel. I have been meaning to catch up on this, but some of you know I had a newborn come along during this time, so I've been in hospital and all over the place and settling him in this time. So, but yeah, finally getting around. I'll get around to interviewing hopefully the top 3 players from the tournament. People like that kind of content. Talk of tactics. I like talking about tactics too and how to win things. That's what I'm all about. So it's yeah. Thanks heaps for your time, Lachlan.
No, thanks for having me in.
No, anytime, man.
And thank you for hosting the tournament.
Oh.
It was a lot of fun.
It's a pleasure. So hope you guys enjoyed this content. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel. We really appreciate you doing so. It only takes you a second to do. It means a lot to us as we continue to grow. We'll get there one day as a proper channel, not a little baby one. But for now, we're WarHQ. I'm Lucius. That's Lachlan. And we're signing out.